I feel kind of bad for Halo Studios, I really do. Expecting them to successfully carry the torch for one of the most prolific shooter franchises of all time is about as likely as asking Elon Musk to retain a woman's love. I mean, they still haven't shed the shame of having dragged the narrative through more retcons than a Jay Cartwright anecdote, despite the shallow attempt to rebrand itself as a new studio. But that's alright. If they can't write their own original story, they could always board the remake train. Everyone's loving that Black Flag one lately, so there's clearly still a market for them, if done right. So it's all eyes on Campaign Evolved, because if it doesn't sell well, Microsoft might bin off Halo altogether. The problem is that done right is a massively subjective term to the Halo community. It feels like half the scene comprises Puritans that will write off the whole product if you change anything. I mean, the mere inclusion of Sprint was enough to generate more Reddit essays than if Trump had farted an immigrant baby out his arse. You watch one video critiquing the new game and suddenly you're down a rabbit hole of whiny, nasally voiced Americans critiquing the width of Cortana's toes. Now don't get me wrong, I too grew up alongside the franchise, so I know how it feels to care about the trajectory of a childhood classic, but at the same time, it's a remake, mate. The original is still there and you can play it at any time, but the purpose of a remake is to modernise an older game for a newer audience. At least that's the mentality I went into it with, steeling myself for any potential changes I didn't like, whilst keeping a keen eye open for hot takes to really rile up the Halo Puritans who said Halo Infinite is worse than COD Death. As much as the original is an undeniable masterpiece, it isn't without its flaws, so surely they've improved some things. Worst case scenario, I get to re-listen to that incredible soundtrack by Michael Salvatore and that creepy Republican dude.
Sorry for the quick thaw, Master Chief. Things are a little hectic right now.
Welcome back, sir. We'll have you battle ready.
I was ready. I had my friend Idris on call, a £50 hole in my wallet, a tedious sign-in procedure out the way, and a sense of nostalgic optimism. The feeling that I was in for the most solid 7 out of 10 experience of my life. That was until I realised the game has so much input latency it's genuinely intolerable. The game was so unresponsive I barely touched down on Halo before speedrunning the refund request. Genuinely unplayable shit, lads. Good job. There's already numerous help threads that show you how to dig around in the files to disable the nauseating chromatic aberration and lessen the input latency. But that's the kind of jiggery pokery I'd expect when trying to play a game from 2001. Ironically, playing the original is an easier experience these days. Have we gone backwards in time? At this point, seeing the Unreal Engine 5 logo prompts an urge to pat my computer on the head and assure it everything's gonna be okay. But Mumpy, it's not fair to make a video reviewing a game when you've only played a tiny portion of it. Fair point. But to that I say, it is when I've spent 50 fucking quid on it. So I'll just tell you my thoughts for the small slice I experienced. How about that? I'll leave the technical breakdown to the more experienced channels, but it didn't run too bad for me, and I actually liked the new graphics when it didn't look like Chief had dunked his head in a bucket of jackal semen. I'm not too fussed about the character redesigns either. Even if Sergeant Harvey here keeps breaking the fourth wall, it makes sense for him to look older than he did in the Halo 2 remake at least. They pretty much nailed his characterization as a cocky and confident veteran of war who considers a Covenant invasion just another day on the job. But his first scene feels like a forced Marvel hype moment, and the way it's shot on stage makes it feel like Halo the theatre production.
Oh, you greenhorns who wanted to see Covenant up close. This is gonna be your lucky day.
Do you see what I mean? Just something about his delivery and cadence doesn't match the humor of the original. Maybe my opinion on that would change across the whole thing, but you know, it felt like I was playing through Google fucking Stadia, so. Captain Keyes is visibly stressed out and shaken, which is extra character flavor before he slips back into the confident, commanding aura we recognize from the first game. And I like that he actually mentions his daughter. It's just hilarious that he then hands Chief an heirloom family magnum to give her. Does he not know Chief can only carry 2 weapons? It's a good job the thing's still fun to shoot, else it's getting discarded for a plasma pistol. Cortana's tone is different too, and not for the better. She seems less sardonic and more sarcastic, which shifts her into the realms of annoying. Some of these redone takes are just objectively worse than the original. There's not a whole lot more I could comment on in good faith, except the fact it tutorializes everything by putting big red markers above the last few enemies per area, which I've heard can defeat the purpose of invisible elites later on. Also, I can't say I needed a lore explanation for how overshields work.
That's a Covenant overshield. I've created an interface patch that will let
I do like that you've made it something I can carry and use whenever I like, though. That's a welcome change. Other than the assault rifle no longer having the spray of a post-shag piss, I didn't find my hot take. I might make a full video on it when it's playable out the gate, because I still maintain there's probably a decent co-op experience buried under that technical jank, so I won't feel as ripped off if I get it on sale. I'll ride the retrospective wave instead. For now, you're better off avoiding it unless you can be asked to faff about fixing the issues. Maybe Idris and I were just unlucky and yours will work fine. To be honest, the reason we picked it up is because we're starved for decent story-based co-op shooters. But whilst the industry continues to shart out glorified tech demos in an engine that makes makes my exponentially expensive hardware scream, it's hard to maintain a forced sense of nostalgic optimism, so we binned it off and played some modded Halo 3 firefight instead. Click the like button, don't pre-order, and go watch my other shit, please. Love ya. Mwah.
One thing, Chief, don't fall in love with this juicy, fuckable AI woman.
He's off on that.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm going to deal with a very